Good evening, afternoon, or morning, depending on where you're located on the globe, and welcome to Health Watch Thursdays at New Earth Health Food Store in East Legon, Ghana, West Africa. I'm your host for the evening, Niara. I am the founder of the Gourmet Vegan, a vegan catering company located here in Ghana, and I'm very happy to be with you this evening. Today we are going to be doing one of my favorites, which is condiments. What is a great salad without a fabulous tasty salad dressing? What is a good sandwich without some cheese or mustard on it that's vegan? As my grandmother used to say, don't nobody want no choke sandwich. And as melanated people, you know, we like our sauces, we like gravies. So one of the things that I have cultivated in my 30 plus year vegan journey is making sauces. Now, when I first became a vegan back in the early 90s, it was quite a struggle for me to give up dairy because I love cheese. And so for many years, I went without consuming any type of cheese once I embraced a full plant-based diet. But as I began to become creative in the kitchen and learn how to make different things, one of the things, as I said, I've really specialized and perfected is making cheeses. I love cheese. So today we're going to be making vegan cheese. I'm going to be making a vegan cheese with a base that's made from soy milk. Now, for those of you who have been on your vegan journey for a long time and so you prefer not to consume soy, there is an alternative. You can also use cashews. I've tried to make the vegan cheese from oat milk, from coconut milk, from almond milk, but I have found the only thing that, in terms of milk, that makes a good cheese is the soy milk. Or, as I said, you can use the cashews, which is much more pricier, and depending on what your budget is looking like, you might prefer to use the soy. So we're going to be making vegan cheese today. We're also going to make a vegan mustard, something that is great on your sandwiches. We're also going to make a salsa, so something to dip your nacho chips with. And then the last thing that we're making is a vegan version of a Thousand Island salad dressing. So before we get started, let's get started. Now, I've had my vegetables over here soaking in my activated charcoal. That is what I use to clean my vegetables. It's very, very good. It removes all of the unhealthy toxins, toxic metals from. So I the activated charcoal water for about 15 minutes now. And what you do, you just add a teaspoon of water and let you put your produce in there and let it sit, and then you take it out and you rinse it. So that's where I am right now. I'm going to take out my peppers, my green bell peppers, and I'm going to rinse them off because we're going to get started with the salsa first. So I'm taking it out and I'm just rinsing it in some bottled water. Now for today, because I am just making samples, I'm not going to be making large portions. So as you are watching me prepare that, do keep that in mind. But if you're making this just for yourself, a single person, then this would be more than sufficient for one individual. So I have my green bell peppers. I have two small, as you can see, two small green bell peppers. And I have cleansed them. I'm going to chop them up. I don't have to chop them up very fine because I'm using a food processor, a Ninja food processor, to make my sauce. And it is going to do the heavy lifting for me, the hard work. So I don't have to do a lot of chopping and rinse these seeds out of my bell pepper, which is a wonderful thing. This bell pepper is full of seeds, which is a really great thing. I'm not a fan of seedless vegetables. Now for this salsa, also because I am not preparing this for myself, I'm not going to make it spicy. But if you are somebody who does enjoy spicy foods, as am I, then you can add jalapeno pepper to this. Takes it to another level. So now I've chopped up my bell pepper as such. I'm just going to pop it in here into my food processor, and now I'm going to rinse off my tomatoes. And I'm also taking the seeds out of the tomatoes as well. So I'm going to cut this just one time in half. And salsa is a great dish for if you're having a party, a get-together. It's something that's quick and easy to make. It's something that's great to have just around in the house, in the fridge, particularly if you have children, as do I. I have 5 children. Yes, they all are vegan. I have reared 5 beautiful children on a plant-based diet. So many people always ask, how is it I was able to convince my children to embrace a plant-based diet? And as I always tell people, children do and know what they're taught. So in their minds, the only milk that exists is almond milk or oat milk, or spelt flour. The only cheese that exists in their mind, in their reality, is vegan cheese. So whatever diet that you introduce your children to, that's the diet that they will consume. That's what they will, become familiar with. And it was never a struggle for me with any of my children. I never had to convince them to embrace a plant-based diet. In fact, specifically my 3 younger children, I would say that the most, the idea of consuming, meat has never crossed their mind. In fact, they find it to be quite gross. So if you are a parent and you're out there wondering, oh, is this a diet or a lifestyle that I can get my children to embrace? Absolutely, you definitely can. And it is a lifestyle. It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. Okay, so we have 2 tomatoes. Now I've already prepped my onion, my red onion, and you don't have to use red onion. I just personally prefer red onion because red onion it's much more flavorful, and it gives it, you know, a stronger taste. So I prefer red onion. So I've already prepped my red onion. So we have bell pepper, tomato, red onion, and then the last thing that I'm going to throw in is some garlic, fresh garlic. Now again, with something like garlic, you know, you can decide according to your own taste buds how much that you want to use. I myself am a huge fan of garlic. And you know, garlic has so many health benefits as well. So you can't go wrong. The more the merrier. Now, you might want to keep some mints on the side after you eat it, because garlic does tend to give you a very putrid smell in terms of your breath. Why is that? Why is it the things that are so good for us, they're either bitter or they leave a strong, unpleasant odor? Why is that? Why can't it taste like honey or smell like honey, rather not taste? Okay, so we're going to do one more piece of garlic, which will give us 4 pieces. Okay, so once again, we have our green bell pepper, tomato, red onion, and garlic. So we're going to put the top on our food processor, and we are going to choose, there are different settings. You have the chop, the puree, the slice, and the mix. For something like a salsa, I use the puree setting. Now you can use the chop setting. It depends on how you like your salsa. If you like it chunkier, then you might want to use the chop setting and keep it going until it gets to the consistency that you prefer. I myself, I prefer it, you know, more liquidy, so I use the puree setting on my food processor. Okay, so now we have this chopped finely. Oh my gosh, it smells so delicious. I wish you all could smell this. This is what we're looking like, okay? So this is the consistency that I like my salsa. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to transfer this to a bowl, because I'm going to add my lemon juice to it. I'm going to add some cumin, a pinch of sugar, and salt. Now, if you don't have a food processor, you can also, you know, just cut up your vegetables. Of course, that would be much more work. Or You can even use a blender and just pulse it. So I'm going to transfer my chopped up vegetables into this bowl here. And some of these, they didn't get chopped all the way, so I'm going to process it a little bit more. Also, if you don't have a food processor, you can use a grater, and that works also really well. I've done that before in the past when I didn't have a food processor, and it works just as well. Of course, it's much more time consuming, and so for me that is a consideration, because as I'm sure you can imagine, with 5 kids, I don't have a lot of time. Okay, so we have our peppers, our onions, our in here, and so now we are going to add a pinch of salt. Now I do not use measurements, okay? This is a teaspoon, just to give you an idea of how much salt that I'm using. It's not full though. And again, you use it, the amount of salt, you know, to your taste, your desire. Some people like a little more salt, some people like a little less, so do it according to your own taste buds. And then I'm going to add a little bit of sugar. This is a full teaspoon of brown, this is brown cane sugar. And 2. And then lastly, but definitely not least, is cumin powder. I'm going to add some cumin powder. I'm going to mix that up real good. Put this sharp blade out of the way so I don't cut myself. And then now I'm going to add some fresh lemon juice to it. Wow, and this lemon is really juicy. And mix that in real good. You want to make sure that you mix so that you get all of the flavors. Okay, now it's time for the taste test. Let's see what our salsa is tasting like. See if we need to add a little more salt. Do we need to add a little bit more sugar, some more cumin? Wow, that is absolutely delicious. I wish you all could taste that. It's perfect. So we're gonna sit this over to the side, cover it up. And now we're going to move on to my favorite, which is cheese. Cheese, glorious cheese. Everybody, well, except for my third son, everybody in my family loves cheese, especially my husband. My husband will put cheese on anything. I'll make spaghetti, I'll make a stir-fried rice, and he still will go in the refrigerator and grab the cheese and put it on there. So you can't go wrong with adding cheese to anything. So what we're gonna start with first is our soy milk. Okay, now I personally prefer making my soy milk. It makes for a much creamier and richer cheese when you make your own soy milk. And it's really a simple process. All you need are soybeans to do it. You just soak your soybeans overnight, grind them up, blend them up with some water and let it boil in a pot on the, cook it on the fire for like 15 minutes, and then you strain it using some cheesecloth. If you don't have any cheesecloth, then you can use a fine sifter, and then let the milk cool off and then refrigerate it. It makes a much, as I said, a much creamier when you make cheeses or sauces. And also, I am personally an advocate, a huge advocate of making things from scratch. You know, when you know what's in your food, I think that's best. So we have the soy milk, and this is like maybe about, I would say 3/4 of a cup of milk. Now I normally use much more than this because I'm making it, you know, for a family. But again, if you're just making it for yourself, then this would be more than sufficient. And I'm going to add fresh garlic to it. This is also something that I use a lot of garlic, and the more garlic that you use with your cheese, the better it tastes. It gives it, you know, a really, really nice flavor. Okay, so I have 1 large clove of garlic, and then the other 4, they're like 4 small pieces, I would say. Now, if I were making a regular batch of cheese, I usually use like 6 large pieces, 6 large cloves of garlic. So I have my soy milk, I have my fresh garlic. The next thing I'm going to add is some vinegar. Now the purpose of adding the vinegar is to make the milk curdle, okay? So that's probably maybe about a 1/2 tablespoon of vinegar. You can use white vinegar or yellow vinegar. And add some salt to it. I prefer to use the pink Himalayan salt. That is the only salt that I use to cook with. That is my preference. It is not mandatory. And then the last thing that I'm going to add before I start blending is nutritional yeast powder. Now sometimes I also add um, Moroccan paprika and oil. That's not something that you have to add. You can get a nice flavor to your cheese. I'm a huge advocate of using local ingredients. And so what I mean when I say that is using the ingredients where you're located. A lot of times I find that with vegan chefs, people who make vegan cuisine and make these videos like on different social media platforms, they have like these really exotic, hard to find ingredients. And so for someone such as myself that lives in Ghana, West Africa, these items are not necessarily accessible, and if they are, they can be very expensive. So again, I'm a huge advocate of using the ingredients that you can find in your area that are readily accessible, not having to go out of your way or to order something special online. Use what you have at your access. Okay, so we're gonna start blending up our cheese. And this is a Vitamix blender. You don't have to have a Vitamix blender to make cheese. I highly recommend it because it is the Cadillac of blenders. However, you can use any high-powered blender. The stronger the blender, the better the cheese, because you don't have to use as much oil when you're making it. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna turn on the blender, right? And once it starts blending, then we'll start to pour oil down the hole of the blender, and we do that until the hole closes up. So let's make some cheese. Now, note, when you're pouring in your oil, you want to pour it in slowly, okay? You don't want to just dump the oil in, because what happens is it will make your cheese really oily, and also it will take much more time for that hole to close up for you to form a cheese sauce. So I'm checking we're almost there. I'm going to add a little bit more of my nutritional yeast. The more nutritional yeast that you add, the creamier your cheese will be. And I prefer the nutritional yeast powder. I think that it makes a much better and creamier cheese than the nutritional yeast flakes. However, you can use both. Okay, we're ready. Now, in terms of oil, my preference is rice bran oil. Rice bran oil is very difficult to find, but it is a much more high quality oil. It's really light, and it doesn't give like an aftertaste to your cheese. I've found that in certain oils that I use, like with olive oil, it can give the cheese like an aftertaste, and so it's not pleasant. Today I'm using a sunflower oil. Sunflower oil is my second preference, but as I said, the rice bran oil is actually the best. So this is what your cheese is going to look like. Okay, you can put this on a sandwich, you can put this on a pizza, a lasagna, some nachos if you're making nachos. I'm gonna pour it this way. I hope you guys can see how creamy this cheese looks. Wow, oh my gosh. This is looking so good. And some smoked paprika in this, which is, oh my, especially if you're making like an eggplant parmesan, throw some smoked paprika in there. For those of you in the audience, if you've never had vegan cheese, then you guys are in for a real treat today. I think for most people, giving up cheese is like one of the last things when they embrace a plant-based diet, that's like one of the last things that they give up. Cheese and ice cream. Understandably so. So I'm scraping every last drop of cheese out of this Vitamix. We don't want to leave one drop in this blender. Because we don't want to be wasteful. So now I'm going to cover this up and put this to the side. So we got our salsa now. We got our cheese. The next thing that we're going to do is a mustard sauce. So I'm going to clean out my blender right quick, and then we'll get on that mustard sauce. Rinse this off. Thought about that. Why am I struggling trying to rinse all of the cheese residue out of the blender? I can just blend it up. That's much easier. Have the blender do the work for me. Okay. Work smarter, not harder. That's my motto. Now, one thing you can do, right, to save time when you're making your condiments, because everything, it has the same base. So whether you are making the cheese sauce, whether you're making the mustard, whether you're making the salad dressing, right, it all comes from a soy butter base, right? So you can make and I do this sometimes, I'll just make the soy butter, and put it inside of the refrigerator. So then I have, you know, less steps to go through when I'm getting ready to make my cheese or my salad dressing. Okay, so we got our blender nice and clean now. We're gonna put some more soy milk in there, and we're gonna start making the mustard. Clean off my chopping board. Okay, so once again, we're going to start off with some soy milk. And I put in just enough to cover the blade. Then I'm going to add some vinegar to it. Add a pinch of salt, my pink Himalayan salt. Now, if you want to do a honey mustard, then you can throw some sugar in there. I'm not going to use sugar this time. And then some turmeric. Okay, turmeric powder. This is what gives it the yellow color. And turmeric is also something that's very, very good for you. You know, with plant-based eating, you want to eat food that tastes good, right? Because, you know, who wants to eat bland food? But you also want to consume food that is healthy, that's healing for the body. You know, let your medicine be your food and let your food be your medicine. Okay, so we have the milk in here. We have salt in here, some vinegar, and the turmeric powder. And then once again, we're going to blend and then add oil. And it's the same process, right? You're adding the oil until the hole closes up. Let me share a little tip with you. One of the things that I do when I'm at home and I'm making my butters, my cheese, my dips with my blender, and I'm pouring the oil in, I use a funnel. And this way the oil goes straight down to the hole, and it helps in closing the hole quicker. And today I don't have my funnel, nevertheless, but it's we still gonna work it out. We're improvising. Also, another reason why it's good to use a funnel is because when you're blending right, you're using it on a high high setting, and so your ingredients is popping up out of the blender, and so that helps as well, so you're not wearing your food like I am this evening. Okay, so we are finito. 2 down, no, 3 down, 3 down, 1 to go. This is our mustard. And as I said, you can add sugar in it if you want to make it like a honey mustard. So now we're going to transfer our mustard into our bowl. We have salsa, we have cheese, we have mustard. And again, look at the creaminess of it. Oh my goodness. Slap some of this on a Philly knot steak sandwich. You good to go. And if you want like a mustard, a deeper yellow, then you just add more turmeric powder to it. For those of you watching from Ghana, you can come through and check me out this Saturday and Sunday. I will be at Hella Plant's Vegan Market at the Treehouse in Osu. You can come through, get some delicious vegan cuisine. I'll have my carrot not tuna salad as well as my chickpea not tuna salad. And for those of you who love desserts, I will be serving up my mango pineapple cheesecake, so come through. That's this Saturday and Sunday at the Treehouse in Osu. Okay, so we got our salsa, we got our cheese, and now we have our mustard. The last thing that we will be doing for today is a salad dressing. That is the Thousand Island salad dressing. So I'm just going to clean my blender once again. Okay, so once again, we're starting with our soy milk. And I just put in enough soy milk to cover up the blade. I'm going to add some pickles to it. Three pickles. I'm also going to add some onion to it. And again, I'm using the red onion. That is my preference. I'm going to add some tomatoes as well. Oh, I'm out of water. Can I get some more water, please? Okay, while I'm waiting on the water, I'm going to go ahead and add my other ingredients. Some more vinegar. I'm going to add almost 1 teaspoon of salt. Thanks. And then I'm going to add 2 full teaspoons of my sugar. Okay. Now, if you want to add some additional dry spices like a parsley or basil, then you can do that as well. You know, feel free to experiment based upon, you know, your own personal taste buds. Don't be inhibited at all. That's the beauty about, you know, about cooking. You know, you have the freedom of being creative. And sometimes you can accidentally come up with a recipe, discover something, you know, just on accident, and turn out to be something absolutely delicious. My daughter does it all the time. I have a 10-year-old daughter that loves cooking, and she's always experimenting with something, mixing different flavors, things that you would never even think like, oh, that, and it turns out really good. So be free in your kitchen. Cutting up my tomatoes, and I'm keeping the seeds in them. I'm not taking the seeds out for the dressing, the salad dressing. So this is a Thousand Island salad dressing, but you can use the same base, like of the soy butter, to make any type of salad dressing. Like if you want to make a lemon garlic dressing, and you would just go through the same process instead of putting in the tomato, the pickle, and onion, and what have you. You would use garlic and lemon, fresh lemon. Okay, so we have our soy milk, our vinegar. Oh, one more thing. I almost forgot. Bell pepper. Let's clean off this cutting board. Okay, so we're just gonna chop this bell pepper up in a couple of different pieces. I'm so tongue-tied today. I don't know what's going on with me. Can't get my words out of my mouth. Okay, so now we have our bell pepper chopped up. We have onion, we have pickles, garlic, our soy milk, a little salt, a little sugar, and we're gonna blend this up. Okay, so before I add my oil, I'm just gonna my salad dressing to see if I need to add any more of my sugar or my salt. It needs a little more sugar. And I'm going to add some more vinegar to it. Okay, put your top on, make sure that it's secure. We're going to taste it again, see what we're looking like. And that's the taste I'm looking for. Okay, so now I'm going to add my oil. Okay, so we're finished. Now with the salad dressing, it's not as thick as the mustard and the cheese because it's a salad dressing. Now if you want to make it a little bit thicker, you can, but this is like the consistency of mine. Okay, and then take into consideration also when you put it in the refrigerator, that's going to make it thicken up as well. So you don't want to make it too thick because again, it's a salad dressing. So that is it for today. For our condiments, we have our Thousand Island salad dressing. We have our mustard sauce. We have our salsa. And one of the things that you want to do that would be good, like if you're making salsa, particularly if you're making it for a special occasion, for an event, is to make it the day before. That way it can sit and all of those different flavors, they can marinate, and so that following day it'll be even tastier. The flavor will really be bursting. And then lastly, but certainly not least at all, my absolute favorite, and is my vegan cheese. So those of you who are here today in the audience, you have the pleasure of tasting the different condiments that we made today. I brought some, you're lucky I brought some nacho chips with me. So I'm gonna give you some nacho chips, and I'm gonna give you some of the salsa and the cheese, and you can taste it and you can give me your honest opinion of what you think about it. For those of you watching, if you have any questions about anything that was prepared today, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. I am on Instagram and TikTok under the Gourmet Vegan, and I am happy to answer any questions that you have about how to prepare it or how to start your plant-based journey. It's much easier than you think. A lot of people feel like it's really, really difficult embracing a plant-based lifestyle, and it's not. I think that with so many different plant-based influencers and people who have these different platforms that make these really, really difficult dishes, a lot of times people can get overwhelmed. And so a plant-based meal can be something as simple as some brown rice with some chickpeas or black beans and a side of broccoli. You know, that's plant-based. It doesn't have to be lion's mane battered mushrooms. It doesn't have to be a mushroom lentil loaf. You know, as you begin to evolve in your journey, then you can start preparing those dishes. But in the beginning, do something simple, you know, an avocado sandwich with some sprouts on it and sliced tomato and your vegan cheese, okay? So I'm going to let my guests and the audience taste our cheese with some nacho chips. If I could get a plate. And again, plant-based living, it's a lifestyle, it's a journey. It does not have to be difficult. And today in 2023, it's so much more simpler than when it was when I first became a vegan, in the early 90s. You know, there were much fewer options than what you have today. Most restaurants that you go in, particularly in the West, there are plant-based items on the menu. When I first became vegan, if I didn't prepare it at home, I just was out of luck. Especially, I'm originally from Texas, and they felt the need to put cheese and dairy in everything. So you couldn't even go and order you an avocado sandwich because they would have eggs in it or have, you know, shredded cheese in it. So, but now, you know, the entire world has evolved, where most, as I said, most places that you frequent, most restaurants, you can find at least 2 or 3 items on the menu that are plant-based. Even here in Ghana, And we even have our own vegan restaurants here in Ghana as well. Veganism has really evolved over the years. It's become a multi-billion-dollar industry. And people have gotten really creative with the different dishes that they make. Add a little bit of cheese. Now we'll add a little salsa to go with that. Okay, don't be shy. Bon appetit. It's great. Would you like to try some? Have you ever had plant-based food before? No. Oh, so this is your first time? Okay. So I know that you're Ghanaian and that you were reared to be very polite, but if you don't like it, you're more than free to say so, okay? Okay. 2 thumbs up. You like it? You love it? Oh, he loves it. Okay. He doesn't just like it, he loves it. Okay, that's wonderful. You see, plant-based eating is easy, something that you can embrace. It's something that you don't have to fear. It's something that can be very tasty. You don't have to sacrifice taste for health. And so if you are thinking or considering about going vegan and you don't know where to start, again, reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok at the Gourmet Vegan. If you are here in Ghana, you can reach me at 053-235-396 via WhatsApp. I am, as I said, a vegan caterer, so you can order different dishes. I have a whole menu of things that you can order. So please feel free to reach out for me and come and join the vegan wave. Thank you all so much for joining me this evening. I hope that you enjoyed the broadcast. For those of you who've already started your vegan journey, be an advocate for veganism. Be an advocate for plant-based eating. People that you know that are in your personal space, your family members, your friends, introduce them to your lifestyle. Let them know that it's something that is not just good for them and for their bodies, but it's good for the planet. The future is vegan, so go vegan.